It's the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. Hope you guys had a great weekend. I know I was vegging on the couch for most of it, watching little hoops. I'm sure, Wade, you were doing some of that as well.
Hoops, and more hoops, man. I mean, what more could you ask for other than maybe a few more upsets, I suppose. But we were blessed to get through another opening round and second round of March Madness there.
Yeah, and there was one fewer upset than there very well could have been, especially if you were a fan of a orange team from about 3 hours east, because they were gettable Saturday night. And I was reminded of former women's coach Pat Summitt, survive in advance, right? So
survive in advance, and Sweet 16 Rick, he can at least stash that away for a little bit. But now the pressure, I mean, it just ramps up, right, as we head into this weekend.
Never satisfied, So you get to the right? So we'll be keeping an eye on that as the week progresses. But yeah, big show. We are going to visit in the second hour with NUBYJAS WILBORN, because he and I had the same thought late Friday night as we were watching hoops. Apparently, Rand Carthon is not an NCAA tournament fan, because around 10:30 Friday night, the Titans dropped the bomb that they have traded for and signed Kansas City Chiefs cornerback L'Jarius Sneed. So all of the talk last week of the Titans still needing to address the defensive secondary, well,
hello,
find something else to talk about. Because all of a sudden they are looking pretty solid on the back end. But yeah, we're going to talk to NUBYJAS about how that came about and what it means to this team and, what's left.
So. Yeah, they. I mean, we sound semi like a broken record, Mo, in the sense that the Titans, they are not one to be trifled with this offseason.
Yeah, they are definitely winning the offseason. Hopefully, it translates to winning during the regular season and the postseason. But obviously, again, this is a team that had a long way to come as well. So, as NUBYJAS so poetically pointed out to us in one of his previous visits, I mean, this team was 6-11 last year. So
yeah, they've got some work to do, but it was and continues to be refreshing that they're being pretty proactive. And Friday night was definitely about as proactive as you can get, just popping some big time NFL news, not just locally, but kind of reverberated across the league Friday night.
Exactly. March Madness is going on the floor. March Madness is also going on in some athletic departments, and Wade Neely is a bad camper.
If you're referencing the Wolverines, yes, they make a splashy hire over the weekend. They get Dusty May, and looking forward to seeing what he brings to the table. There, the internet message boards are ablaze, and there's already talk about what his future will look like in Ann Arbor. So yeah, very, very exciting time, and not the only coaching move that we'll get into today.
Not the only coaching move that we'll get into today, and we'll leave that at that for now. But there are some coaching moves that we will need to get into, and some that that's one of our guests actually kind of hinted at on, was it Friday that we had CL Brown on?
I think so.
Was it Thursday? Yeah, the
Friday.
The days start to run together. But yeah, a lot going on in the coaching carousel. We'll be getting into some of that. And, the grab bag, we got a little news earlier this morning. Wade, this probably didn't mean as much to you as it did to me and Yao, but Jesse's back again. Atlanta Braves reliever Jesse Chavez apparently was released by the Chicago White Sox over the weekend, and the Braves snatched him up for the 8 millionth time. So, that's always fun to have Jesse back in a Braves uniform, and he always seems to do his best work in a Braves uniform. So we'll be talking a little bit more about that later in the show. Also, it's Monday, so MON-STARS coming up, as Wade and I will give you our top individual performers from the weekend. So get in, sit down, shut up, and hang on. Here we go, here on Main Street Sports Today, and we're going to start by giving you this weekend's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the Rundown.
The Monday Rundown is brought to you by Zion Christian Academy. ZCA offers a faith-based, Christ-centered education in Murray County. Give them a call today at 931-388-5831 or visit zioneagles.org to schedule your appointment today. Zion Christian Academy, prepared for college, equipped for purpose.
To the rundown we go. Baseball scores coming in hot from Friday. We kick things off. It was Giles County, a winner over Community, 17-3 was your tally there. Father Ryan, a 10-2 victory versus Dixon County. Friendship Christian defeated DeKalb County 7-3. Brentwood Academy 11, John Overton 1. Macon County an 8-1 winner over Springfield. Upperman 5, Stewart's Creek 4, Watertown 13, Pope John Paul II 12. Very high scoring game there. St. Patrick, Illinois wins it 4-1 on Friday over Wilson Central. Those were your results on Friday. Buckle up. I'll guide you through Saturday as well. Again, baseball scored here. Brentwood 11, Dixon County 2, Clarksville 12, Centennial 2. It was Clarksville Academy 13, Summertown 7. CPA beat Columbia by a count of 13-1. Clarksville was a 5-4 winner over CPA. As Columbia Academy, another Murray County squad in action here. They were victorious, however, 10-0 over DCA. It was Innsworth 12, Waverly 1. Independence a 14-4 winner versus Father Ryan. Lipscomb Academy wins it in a nail-biter, 12-11 over Friendship Christian. Beach a 5-2 victory versus Friendship Christian. Brentwood Academy takes it from Grace Christian Franklin. 10-0 is your score there. Couple other final scores here, both from Green Hill. It was Green Hill 12, Pope John Paul II 2. Green Hill followed up with an 8-3 victory versus Gordonsville.
Also, baseball action. Hardin Valley with a 4-3 win over Station Camp. Henry County blanked Clarksville Northeast 10-0. Lawrence County likewise against Rocket City of Alabama 11-0. Creekwood with a 13-3 win over Lawson. Loretto 8, Mars Hill Bible of Alabama 3, Davidson Academy 7, Montgomery Bell Academy 2, Madison Academy with a 15-0 win over Middle College. Siegel picks up a pair of wins over Middle Tennessee Christian 7-0 and 8-2. Page with a 13-3 win over Clarksville Academy, but the Patriots fall to Summertown 12-4. Red Boiling Springs with a 10-2 victory over Mount Juliet Christian. It was Riverdale 7, Moody of Alabama 6. Also the Warriors 6, Piedmont of Alabama 5. Rossview with a 13-4 win over Franklin. Stewart's Creek defeats Titusville of Pennsylvania 14-5. Rossview with a 10-7 win over Summit. Mount Juliet Christian down Sunbright 11-3, and Wilson Central with a, whoa, I lost it. Hang on. And my scroll bar is not working. Hang with me just a second. Wilson Central with a 17-6 win over Titusville of Pennsylvania. In softball action on Friday, Blackman with a 21-2 win over Macon County. Green Hill with a 17-2 win over Dyer County. Carterville of Illinois with a 6-2 win over Lincoln County. It was Mantino of Illinois 18, Laverne 1. Plainview of Alabama defeated Riverdale 8-3. Castle of Indiana defeated Siegel 7-3. Lexington with an 11-1 win over Smyrna. Also, Wayne County defeated Smyrna 5-4. Siegel down South Elgin of Illinois 12-8. Rogers of Alabama with an 11-4 win over Stewart's Creek. Stewart's Creek bounces back for an 11-7 win over Macon County. Floyd Central of Indiana defeats Summertown 6-1. Summertown comes back for a 1-0 victory over Cheatham County. It was Waverly 10, West Creek nothing, and also the Lady Tigers of Waverly 3, Rossview nothing.
Two nice wins for Waverly there. To Saturday we go. Zion Christian defeating Andrean, Indiana. That score was 7-3. Cheatham County, on the other hand, they fell to Andrean, Indiana, 3-1 there to the visitors, or the squad from Indiana, as it were. 16-1 was the tally. Waverly staying hot, folks. They win it versus Clarksville Christian on Saturday. Stewart's Creek follows up with a 7-2 victory versus Dyer County. Floyd Central out of Indiana defeated Siegel 4-3. It was Forest winning a one-run ball game 7-6 versus Creekwood. Centennial knocked off Forest in a second contest 10-2. Page defeats Herscher, Illinois 7-6 is your score there. Davies County, Kentucky 16-1 over Page. Warren, Illinois 9-7 over Riverdale. It was South Warren, Kentucky 9 and Siegel 6. Smyrna an 8-5 winner over South Gibson. Smyrna following up. Buckle up, folks. A lot of Smyrna games. Smyrna, I mentioned, defeating South Gibson 8-5. They knock off Huntsville, Alabama 11-0. And just for good measure, they put a 16-1 win on Page. Great weekend for Smyrna in softball action. Forest defeated Stewart's Creek 7-3. Castle, Indiana defeated Summertown 11-0. Davies County, Kentucky 8, Summertown 2. Waverly, also a hot weekend. They defeat Rossview 7-0. Manteno, Illinois defeats Zion Christian 4-3. Cheatham County also defeated Zion Christian in a second contest 9-2. Couple of other scores. This one's already in the books, and it was Blackman 15, Lexington, Alabama 1. That game already concluded before we got on the air today. And a couple of bonus scores. To the soccer scoreboard we go. These are from Friday. Westmoreland defeated Cosby 4-1. Farragut defeated Gallatin 3-0. Franklin Christian and Giles County played to a 4-4 draw. Crazy game down in Orange Beach, Alabama between those two teams there. Watertown defeated Jackson County 6-2. Murfreesboro Central Magnet 1, St. George's 0. And it was Blackman 1, Siegel 0 to cap your Friday soccer scoreboard.
On Saturday, Gallatin with a 6-0 win over Christian Academy of Knoxville. Pike Road High School out of Alabama defeated Giles County 6-1. Boyd Buchanan edges Murfreesboro Central 1-0. And University School of Jackson and Pope Prep played to a 2-2 draw. Girls flag football in Williamson County kicked off yesterday. Summit with a 6-0 win over Franklin. Brentwood down Summit 12-2, and Franklin defeats Brentwood 7-0. It was Centennial defeating Independence 19-16 and Nolensville 18-12. Nolensville with a 7-6 win over Independence. Page with a 13-6 victory over Fairview. Ravenwood also defeated Fairview 21-12, and Page defeated Ravenwood 6-0. Men's NCAA tournament action on Saturday. As we mentioned, Tennessee with a 62-58 victory over Texas in round 2 of the Midwest Regional. Women's basketball action on Friday in the Portland 3 opening round. After Vanderbilt picked up a first 4 victory, they fell to Baylor 80-63. On Saturday, Tennessee with a opening round win over Green Bay, 92-63 in the Portland 4 region. And on Sunday, second round action in Baton Rouge, host third seed Louisiana State gets a 83-56 comeback victory over Middle Tennessee State. More on that later. From the association, it was the Grizzlies with a 99-97 win over San Antonio. I presume that was in San Antonio because FedEx Forum was a little busy this weekend. Also, on the pitch, Nashville Soccer Club goes out west. Didn't like the trip. Los Angeles Football Club with a 5-0 victory there.
Absolutely throttled Nashville on Saturday night. So tough luck for NSC, but they'll bounce back. To the schedule we go now. Buckle up, folks. These are baseball scores or baseball games scheduled to be played. And we kick things off with a game that's scheduled to start right at the top of that 2 o'clock hour just a moment ago. Carroll, Alabama versus Murfreesboro Central Magnet. Into 4 o'clock window now. Overton at Hunters Lane. Glencliff is at Lawson. At 4:30 this evening, Loretto at Rogers, Alabama. Whites Creek at Pearl Cone. Friendship Christian at DCA, Mount Juliet Christian at Ezel Harding, Clarksville Academy at Good Pasture, and East Nashville is at Hume Fogg. Now into 5 o'clock, West Creek is at Kenwood, and York Institute is at Watertown. 5:30 p.m. we go. It's Harpeth at Waverly, Allen County, Kentucky at Westmoreland. Hampshire is at Cornersville, and at 6 o'clock tonight, the Middle Tennessee Monarchs are at Eagleville. Stewart County is at East Robertson. Clarksville Northwest will travel to Gallatin. Glencliff will visit Lawson. Culleoka will travel to Richland. You can hear that game on Pulaski Citizen Live. Check out PulaskiCitizen.com for a link to catch that one again at 6 p.m. Now into 6:30. It's Ravenwood at Centennial. Kirkwood is at Clarksville. Mount Pleasant is at East Hickman. Brentwood is at Franklin. Giles County is at Lawrence County. Franklin Road Academy is at Middle Tennessee Christian. But, Mo, there's more 6:30 games still to be had.
There absolutely are. At 6:30, Page travels to Nolensville. Also, University School of Nashville plays Providence Christian. Blackman is at Rockvale. Santa Fe hosting Hickman County. Columbia Central goes to Spring Hill. Those are all 6:30 starts. At 7, Thompson of Alabama is at Siegel. Also at 7, White House is at Station Camp. And Sycamore hosts Springfield. In softball today, 4 o'clock, Boone Grove of Indiana plays Riverdale. At 4:30, Pope Prep travels to Franklin Road Academy. Also at 4:30, Gallatin hosts Friendship Christian. 5 o'clock starts for Mount Pleasant at Culleoka, Ezel Harding at Good Pasture, Ravenwood hosting Father Ryan, Zion Christian at South Haven Christian, Santa Fe traveling to Spring Hill, Springfield traveling to Station Camp. At 5:30, Independence hosts Shelbyville, Summertown is at Lewis County, Centennial takes on DeKalb of Indiana, Columbia Central faces, DeKalb of Indiana and Centennial. That's a 6 o'clock start. Sorry. Also at 6, Glencoe of Alabama plays Columbia Central. At 6:30, Lebanon is at Beach. At 7, Nolensville faces Boone Grove of Indiana. At 8, Columbia Central takes on Deschler of Alabama. Also at 8, Serena of Illinois faces Creekwood. Boys soccer action today, 6 o'clock first touch for Decatur County Riverside at Loretto. At 6:30, Columbia Central hosts Lincoln County. Also, Zion Christian travels to Franklin Christian. 6:30 as well, Academy of God is at Friendship Christian. And at 7, Macon County travels to White House. Women's NCAA action today, 3 o'clock on ESPN. Tennessee takes on host North Carolina State in the second round of the Portland 4 region. Again, that's a 3 o'clock tip. That's at the top of the hour. You can see it on ESPN. 5 o'clock on ESPN Plus, Belmont travels to Happy Valley, taking on the Nittany Lions in the WBIT. And at 8 o'clock on Bally Sports South, you can see Memphis at Denver. That, ladies and gentlemen, is your rundown. Your top story brought to you, as always, by Piggly Wiggly over in Neely's Mill here in Columbia. Be sure and check them out for their delicious daily deli lunch options, as well as their hand-cut meats, and everything is cost plus 3 at the cash register. So again, Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, our top story sponsor. And Wade, we talked about coaching moves.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, Vanderbilt doesn't have to worry about one any longer. And we talked about, the hot coach. And there may not be one much hotter than Mark Byington, formerly of James Madison, now of West End. The Dukes won an opening round game before they pretty well got throttled by Duke in the second round. But this is a team that won 30 plus games this year, including announcing their presence with authority early this year with a win over Michigan State. So this guy, he might not just be the hot coach. There might be a little bit more to it than that. But he apparently, I don't know that there's anything official out of Vanderbilt, but a number of media outlets are reporting this. So Vanderbilt gets their man.
Yeah, it seems like Vanderbilt has identified and found, and it's basically official when his Wikipedia is already up to date. I mean, they got Byington already listed, and you're right, Mo. Many outlets reporting this, and this is an interesting hire in the sense that Vanderbilt has made a couple, quote unquote, splashy hires the last couple of years in terms of name recognition. Their previous two head coaches, at least. And now Byington seems like a little bit of a departure from that, but this guy's got some serious coaching chops. And just kind of quickly chatting with a couple of Vanderbilt friends, and they've kind of soured on the program the last few years. They're not all the way excited, but I think they're a little bit excited, as weird as that may sound to be. You're right. He's not just going to knock your socks off with the name recognition, but I think you can see that this seems to be on paper a pretty good hire for the Doors.
You know, I mean, like you said, you got the splash with the Bryce Drew hire, you know, given his coaching pedigree and what he had come from and what he had done. You got the splash with Jerry Stackhouse, given his NBA background and everything else. And, you know, again, as CL Brown said when we had him on last week, referring to another program, maybe just go win some games. And maybe this guy is that guy. 32-4 this past season. Again, had the big win over Michigan State early in the year, defeated Wisconsin in the opening round of the NCAAs, and it wasn't close. So, I mean, 4 seasons at James Madison, won 20-plus games each year at James Madison. I mean, you know, it obviously translating that success from a mid-major program to the Southeastern Conference, which incidentally will also be welcoming Texas and Oklahoma next year. Certainly a challenge, but maybe this guy's built for it. Like you said, he's got the coaching chops. So we'll see how that works. And again, a number of outlets, including the Athletic, reporting Mark Byington to Vanderbilt. So see how it goes.
Yeah, and I think if you're a Vanderbilt fan, you're, like I said, you're not just absolutely blown away by this, but at the same time, this is
cautiously optimistic is probably where you put it.
Very well said. And yeah, couldn't agree more because, you know, even on the Athletic, you talk about Stackhouse, they use this term, kind of an outside the box hire in the sense, right? I mean, you're kind of plucking him from the NBA ranks, and obviously you've got the name recognition, and it seemed like the strategy was kind of just hope that the name recognition is going to do enough in the recruiting that you almost don't have to worry about the X's and O's and the rest of the things that go into coaching. And this seems like very much a departure from that, which may be a little disconcerting, but I think if you're a Vanderbilt fan, you're just looking for, to win some games, get some consistency. And the good news is in basketball, it doesn't take a whole lot to turn your program around. You have 1 or 2 good seasons and suddenly you're right back in the thick of things. And you're kind of saying bye-bye to some of these lean years.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's not as if Vanderbilt has never won at men's basketball before.
Right.
So let's take a break here on Main Street Sports today as we come to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes. We will be back after this break, and we will be joined by former Tennessee State Athletics Director, former Women's NCAA Selection Committee member, TERESA PHILLIPS. I really want to talk some women's basketball today, and nobody better to do it with than her. So stay tuned when we come back. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers, putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Welcome back to the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We are coming to you remotely from the Lee Company studios of our respective abodes, and we are now joined by former Tennessee State University Athletics Director, again, former NCAA Women's Tournament Selection Committee member, TERESA PHILLIPS. Coach, good afternoon.
How are you guys?
I'm doing well. I'm slowly getting over the events of Baton Rouge from last night or yesterday afternoon, and let's kind of start there, because if the quicker I can get this off my chest, the better off we'll all be. Anybody that knows me knows I'm an MTSU graduate. I'm an MTSU stan. I love this Lady Raider program, and just because I'm biased doesn't make me wrong.
No.
TERESA, how bad was that officiating?
It was bad.
Okay, thank you.
Bad. And because it was bad, and because of the early calls, I always say if officials can make early calls against an underdog, they can kind of take them out of the game, because they know as the game goes on, that's going to come back to haunt them. Exactly what happened with MTSU. They got depleted of their players, and the players, when they were out there, the big girl, etc., just, they couldn't play at full. It just kind of knocks the whole win out of you. And you know that LSU is a physical team. I don't think physical is a bad word. They're physical. Mm-mm. So, the 37-9 disparity, I think that's what it was on the free throw line.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you overcome that.
That's the question. And it's it
was bad.
It's tough. And I mean, LSU doesn't need any help is the thing.
No. We have a family, we are big into sports in my family. And so I have a nephew, Dan, who played at Tennessee State, my son, Kyle, my other son. We have a family text. We're watching the game. As a matter of fact, Ole Miss is getting throttled last I looked by Notre Dame right now. So I'm not mad that I'm on this interview. because that game is over and Tennessee doesn't start at 3. But the first thing that they were all saying is these calls are ridiculous. These calls are intentionally going to take MTSU out, and MTSU was leading. They were leading when we were still saying that. But the game, you know, that eventually LSU is going to play a little better. And if we have people sitting on the bench and not out there competing against them when they kind of do a little bit better, because MTSU has a great game plan. Let's just be honest. They have one of the best coaches in the country, in Rick Insell. And their talent wasn't quite on the same level, their size, their bench. But that was a game they would have won. I really think. I mean, that's unfair to say. I'm not on the committee, so I can say whatever in the heck. But no, and it just pulled that win totally out of them. And you know, of course, playing on home courts in women's basketball in those first 2 rounds is such an advantage too.
Oh, we're going to get to that in a second, Coach. But one of the thing, if you are a women's basketball fan, that I feel like you have to be concerned with is the amount of talk that the way that game was called to take MTSU out of its game was in an effort to preserve a Elite 8 meeting between Iowa and LSU. And the fact that people are even saying that when women's basketball is at the height of popularity that it's at right now, I don't know that you can afford to have that kind of speculation around the game, that things are being tweaked in such a way to preserve that kind of thing. I mean, is that concerning?
But let me tell you, I think we talk about that in every sport, not just women's basketball. We talked about that in the NFL this past year. There are some, you know, conspiracy theorists really think as a city, you know, and then you see some things that happen in the game leading up to games that can make you argue some of those points. I was on the committee for 5 years, and I, you know, we were very close quarters. Met 7, 8 times a year, in person, on the phone monthly. I did not see any intentionality of us trying to set up brackets to advantage certain teams and programs and others. But we're all human, and so all of us were from different areas of the country, from different conferences, from different schools. So you can't ever say that there are no biases in it. But I think most people had high ethics. The officials, I think, just are bad at this point on the women's side, especially. I think a lot of the good ones have aged and are still calling. And then we're not getting quality young ones coming in. And those older aged ones who are going to get the big games still, Maurice, they still big games. They have relationships with some of these old players. I mean, coaches, whether it's Don, whether it's Kim, whomever you want to call it. They called for them for years. You're not really in circles with referees, because that's really, you know, not allowed. But let's be honest. If you've called 60 of my games, because I've been coaching for 20 something years, at a level, and you get all the TV games and all that kind of stuff, we start having a relationship, even if it's that relationship. And I think in people, that bias exists, man. People pretend that it doesn't. It does. It does.
Coach, you had a post on your Facebook page. We're fortunate enough to be Facebook friends, and I appreciate that. But you had a post regarding the discrepancy between UConn's athletic budget, I believe it was, or the women's basketball budget, I'm not sure which one it was, and Jackson State's comparable budget. And I know it's apples and lug nuts. How do we, is that one of those it is what it is kind of things, or is there some kind of way to address that, or what? Is that fixable?
I mean, I don't think it's fixable. I don't think it can be addressed. There's no limit on how much money you can invest in. There may be limits on numbers of coaches. There may be limits on scholarships, but there are not limits on your budget. And that was just the women's basketball budget of UConn's being right at 11 million and Jackson State's being under 1 million. We'll round it to 1 million. It was like 900,000.
Mm-hmm.
So that's nutritionists. That's assigned multiple weight coaches. That's a couple trainers. That's better medical care. That's player personnel people. That's traveling not by bus, not by plane, but by charter plane. That's practice facilities where you can practice at the best time for your team academically, not just when the gym is available and open and the men aren't practicing and they don't have complications, other things that mid-major schools have to do. That's those extra 2 coaches who now can take time to do individual workouts with their players, to do the film work and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's they have transfer portal people for these programs. That's all they do is study the transfer portal almost. And so it's a start. And so when one of these lower seeds beat an upper seed, because I think MTSU's budget is on like 2.6 million women's basketball budget, and we know LSU's is as much as UConn's
At least.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's a healthy budget. 2.6 million. That's
you should be able to do pretty much whatever you need to do with that, right?
But when the other guy has 11, 12 million,
mm-hmm.
And like that goes back to what you said. LSU didn't need any help, did they? So yeah. I always laugh and say, why don't they give the underdog a couple of calls? The benefit of that. That ain't happened yet, man. So but the disparity, Division I, because both of these are Division I schools.
Mm-hmm.
Disparity. At least football has FCS, FBS, and Power 5, and I guess everybody else. And I just think in 10 years the NCAA is going to be toast anyway. So I don't even know what we're talking about.
That's
a whole.
Yeah. That's a whole.
Put a pin in that one.
Yeah.
Hold on to that.
I'm going to be talking about that a lot.
Yeah, we can come back and chew on that one for a long time. Hey, Coach, while we got you here, looking through the bracket, you kind of touched on it. There weren't a ton of quote unquote upsets, but what was one or two big storylines? What were you kind of fascinated by this weekend outside of MTSU, which we obviously were kind of glued to on both Friday and Sunday?
MTSU, of course, was a great. Everybody across the nation was very excited to see it, but not totally surprised because most people know MTSU and the program that Rick Insell has built in Murfreesboro. I think one of the fun things that you are seeing this year in women's basketball is how many great freshmen are out there, and the stuff that they're doing is just on another level to be so young. And they're also playing, and sometimes I guess being young you can play without in any fear or whatever, but they are just, from the young lady at Notre Dame who's tearing up Ole Miss right now to Juju out at USC. I love the girl at Iowa State.
You do love your post players, don't you, Coach?
And I mentioned her to my son Kyle at the beginning of the season. Said, "Mama, you sent me her information when the season started." I said, "I did because I like my big girls." And I just said she's 4-time shot putting champion in high school, 6'3", and Kyle has played 4 years in NFL. I said, "Kyle, and she's as tall as you and as big, maybe bigger than you." And that's not a put down, a young lady. Mm-hmm. Hey, Audie gets up and down that court, and she has footwork, she has touch, she has sweet personality, plays. I mean, she's enjoying the game, and you saw the love that her team had for her and she had for them after she dropped that 40 the other night. Now she had a harder time last night going against Cameron Brink, from Stanford, who is the shot block leader in history, I think, or something. So, but how exciting to see what that young lady and her young Iowa State team, what they'll do moving forward. The fun about women's basketball right now is it's just not UConn and UT and maybe one other, Baylor and whatever. There are a lot of good teams out there, a lot of good coaching.
And you mentioned UT. Obviously, they're getting ready to tip it off versus NC State. And then the winner of that game would advance to meet Stanford after winning that thriller in overtime. And I'm curious, what's your take real quickly on Tennessee and NC State? And then how do both of those teams potentially match up in your mind versus Stanford in the next round?
And NC State has another young freshman. But anyway, Tennessee has been an interesting team this year, haven't they?
They have. That's a good
one way to put it.
You know, wow. They played South Carolina the best of anybody this year.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not going to even go to the heartache that happened night. You know, I'm a Vanderbilt Commodore down and whatever, but I'm from Chattanooga. I'm from East Tennessee, so I'm still a Lady Vol fan.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a pro player, Rakia Jackson. Nobody can stop Rakia if she makes up her mind. So we'll see what happens today, but they really are a dark horse if they play their good ball to make it to the Final Four. That's my prediction. Now they might lose 2 hours, and I'm just saying, well, that's what
we will delete this tape, Coach, if they lose today. How's that? But speaking of NC State, Coach, again, you're a former women's tournament selection committee member. What do you know about the officiating situation in that Chattanooga NC State round 1 game where an official had to be pulled off the floor at halftime?
Yeah, well, you know, that's a miss on the part of the committee too. And I was on the subcommittee for 2 or 3 of the five and a half years, because my last year was the COVID year. So we were sent home before we even did the bracket. We're up in Indianapolis, everything hit. But that vetting happens way out. And it continues into the week and a half that we're up there, you know, setting the bracket. That was a miss on the part of that official. So I don't know what issues and trouble that official will be in, because it's hard for you not to answer that question. It's a question on your form that you must answer, your affiliations with different schools and colleges. So I don't know who discovered it, how it got discovered in the middle of the game, basically.
Right.
And how it's kind of embarrassing. If I were on the committee, I'm sure the committee was a little embarrassed by that, because even if it was just the error on the part of the official that they failed to disclose, you just can't have that kind of thing.
Yeah. TERESA PHILLIPS, former Tennessee State athletics director, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Coach, we've talked a lot about, you know, the relative lack of parity in the women's game between the budgeting and the officiating and that kind of thing. When do these women's first and second round games get to neutral sites?
Well, I don't think it's been a mistake up until now to do it the way we've been doing it. Even when you talk to the student athletes, they say they rather play in front of people than play in front of empty arenas.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that if you're playing in front of people and you're playing on a home court of a higher seed, it's going to be a tough row to hoe. They still have great experiences with it, but I think the discussion has been had before I left the committee, and it probably will start picking up pretty heavy, because each time you see situations like the MTSU, LSU, and that's not the only one that is happened years. I think Carolina might have been Belmont or something, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Just some BS, really, at the end of the game, and every single call went against them, and allowed North Carolina to hang on their court and win. You see those kind of things. And so they're going to have to just be a little bit more creative. I think one of the things that went into play last year, if you remember, instead of having 4 regions, the women now just have, I guess, 2 regions. You wouldn't call it a region. But
2 sites, I guess.
Yeah. Thank you. 2 sites to try to gather the folks, to get everybody in that area to try. But it's tough to be completely fair, as you know. Some of the men were upset, you know, like Bruce Pearl talked about all the Alabama teams that were in it having to go 2,000 miles to play. You know, that's a disparity there when you have to travel that far in different time zones, et cetera. And sometimes when you're trying to be fair, making sure people don't play each other, if you're in the same, conference until, after the Sweet 16, all of those kind of things kind of factor in. But home court advantage is home court advantage. There's a reason people win more games at home than not. And so you're putting folks in a hole when they have to play on somebody else's home court. I think UCLA and LSU, well, that'll be in the region, so that won't happen. But yeah, it'll have to be looked at, Maurice, and I think it's a tough one though when you're on the women's side until we get in base where people will come irregardless of who's playing. That's difficult.
Yeah. Coach, as always, we appreciate your insight. We appreciate your time, and we're going to let you get ready for that UT-NC State game. But thank you so much for coming on with us.
Thank you, guys. Thank you,
Teresa.
Yeah. Hey, when we come back here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia, it's MON-STARS. Stay with us.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA. With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Welcome back to the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton, and it's time for MON-STARS as Wade and I give you our top individual performances of the weekend. And Wade, the floor is yours.
Let's dive into this thing. Hey, before we go anywhere, Mo, we're doing MON-STARS. And I just got to say that last night, me and the missus, we went to Bridgestone Arena, and Nicki Minaj was performing. But who else walks out to perform? None other than Space Jam legend herself, Monica. At age 43, by the way, I'm just going to go ahead and say this. She has still got it. So for you, I will, the queen of the MON-STARS back in the original Space Jam there. It's perfectly fitting for today's show. But yeah, she has still got it. She is not my selection, but she certainly could have been because she stole the show on a night where it was somebody else's bill last night.
She did put on a great individual performance, huh?
Yes, sir. No doubt about that. And it was a good thing I wore my sunglasses. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Don't get yourself in trouble.
First MON-STAR, got to go with the talk of the NCAA tournament over the weekend. He hit 16 threes over the course of 2 games, which is an NCAA tournament record. And Jack Golke for Oakland. They go to overtime versus NC State after they beat Kentucky. And just an electric performance. But not only did he get his 15 minutes of fame, he secured the bag, Mo.
Did he?
Because he's got deals with Buffalo Wild Wings and also TurboTax. I mean, we're talking less than 48 hours after this tournament run, and my man has already got not 1 but 2 bags secured. So props to
good for him.
There.
I'm trying to understand how Dalton Connect and AT&T haven't gotten hooked up with that campaign that they've got going on.
I feel like, yeah, you're onto something. You might could sneak in there with the little agent cut right there because that seems like a no-brainer to me, right?
It does seem like a no-brainer, but then as Yao would tell you, so does Connect 4. How he's not number 4 is kind of we're missing that one. Somebody in Knoxville kind of dropped the ball on that one. I got my ideas, but I'm gonna leave that alone. Speaking of UT though, my first MON-STAR, and we may need more than 3, but just as I admitted in the last segment, I'm a huge MTSU women's basketball fan. I am also a huge Kavaris Tears fan, and the redshirt sophomore from Columbia Academy went 7 for 11 with a pair of home runs, 4 runs driven in, 7 runs scored as the Vols took 2 of 3 from visiting Ole Miss over the weekend. And those 2 wins were not flukes, 15-3 and 15-4 on Friday and Sunday, sandwiching an 8-5 loss on Saturday. But the Vols 21-4 overall, even their SEC record at 3-3 with that performance. And again, Kavaris Tears now with 8 home runs on the year. Yeah,
a solid performance. And anytime you can give the love to a local product and shout out to with the connect, I mean, that is a quality performance over the weekend. And I feel like probably going to be a recurring theme with him over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. I don't think that was anything out of the ordinary for him. Who's your number 2?
Number 2, we touched on it earlier, and this was a big performance on Saturday, but it's really kind of the culmination of what's been a crazy run. I got to give a tip of the cap to a MON-STAR shout out to Roman Yossi for the Preds. He assisted on that goal late in the 3rd period. Bridgestone was absolutely rocking on Saturday. They were saying it felt like a playoff game, and Yossi has now got 10 points in his last 6 games. So like I said, it's a little bit of a long time coming type deal, but he had the clutch assist on the only goal in the game as the Preds continue just this insane run that they're on right now.
Well, you're going with the alley. I'm going with the oop. Philip Forsberg with that goal with 5 minutes left to give the Preds a 1-0 win over the visiting Detroit Red Wings after getting his first fighting major in 4 years.
We were at an establishment Saturday. Couldn't get into Bridgestone, but we were watching that downtown, and it was one of those deals, you know, you're sitting there, you're kind of watching, you're kind of eating your food, and then you glance up, and everybody at the same time says, holy crap, a fight is breaking out. And then I look up, and I said,
holy crap, it's Forsberg.
Forsberg's the one throwing the haymakers there. So all around, just great performance from Forsberg, obviously getting the goal. I mean, hey, and the reason, and somebody asked me, why are they still allowed to fight in hockey? And I guess that is a fair question to an extent, but it's crazy what little things like that the rest of the team picks up on. And they say, if this dude is willing to go out there and put it on the line when he's not a fighter, that kind of lets us know all we need to know about where we're at with team chemistry, and they use that to their advantage.
Yep. That was huge. That was huge, as they are now 15-0-2 in their last 17.
Amazing stuff. I mean, they were literally out of the playoffs entirely, out of the picture really entirely, and now they're all but a lock. They're looking at the calendar, 1 or 2 more games, 1 or 2 more wins, and probably getting this thing wrapped up.
Yeah. Number three, I got to go off the grid. That is a little bit of a pun. I apologize, but if you watch any Formula One, and this is a twofold. Carlos Sainz got the win this weekend. But perhaps he's not only the MON-STAR for doing that, he's the MON-STAR that finally knocked off Max Verstappen, who had won 10 races in a row. And Max, to me, is kind of like one of the MON-STARs on Space Jam. He's one of the bad guys. He's just this, not muscled up literally, but his car is muscled up. He always wins. And it just seems like you're never going to be able to beat this guy. Well, on Sunday morning at the Australian Grand Prix, his car blew up, basically, and he had to leave. So Carlos got the win, but he knocked off Max. Tough to win without a car, huh?
Yeah, he was in prime position. But, he had won 10 races in a row, and Carlos gets the win. So I got to give a shout-out to Carlos. It was just shy of a Max loses USA, USA type chant going out on social media, because he's finally been dethroned, even though it took his car blowing up for him not to get the win. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so Coach Phillips kind of took my Audie Crooks shine with her 40-point performance on 18-20 against Maryland in the opening round. I'm gonna save the MTSU no-hitter until we get Chip on tomorrow. So, by process of elimination, DJ Burns, North Carolina State, 24-11 in their overtime win against Oakland on, that was last night, wasn't it?
I think you're right, and I'm like you, Mo. These days are kind of running together here in the last couple of days.
I can't remember if it was last night or if it was Saturday night. No, it was last night. Anyway, DJ Burns in the second round scored 24 with 11 boards, and North Carolina State, 11 seed North Carolina State, advanced with an overtime win against Oakland, against the Gold Key Kid. So yeah. Again, the days are starting to run together, man. It's been a rough stretch, so hopefully we can get some of this ironed out as we head into this. Go ahead.
I will say this, that I do love the fact that if you're thinking you're going to have a basketball hangover, if obviously you're into women's basketball, which we love on this show, you just get to roll right into it. I mean, I love the way that they've staggered the tournament, so you get some action even on a day when you wake up and you're like, oh no, what am I going to do till Thursday? If you're a fan of the women's game, you just get to keep rolling right on into this thing today.
Absolutely. I hate that this UT game is so early, because I won't be able to pay a whole lot of attention to it here until hopefully halftime.
Yep.
So we'll see how that goes. But that's hour one of the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today. Come back to the Lee Company studios for hour two. At around 3:25, we will be joined by NUBYJAS Wilborn, talking Little Titans. But when we come back, more March Madness. It's not going away. So Wade and I will discuss a little bit more when we come back after the break. Stay with us.
Welcome to Protein Snack Shop, your destination for healthy and delicious low-carb snacks. Our specialty lies in providing protein-packed desserts that are perfect for those following a keto diet. Our products are made with high-quality ingredients, ensuring that you can satisfy your cravings without compromising your health goals. From a variety of flavors and options to choose from, you can enjoy guilt-free snacking while staying on track with your fitness journey. Don't miss out on our limited time offer. Discover Protein Snack Shop today.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
It's the Monday Mirror here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA Columbia, as we look back at the weekend that was. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. And Wade, you are a little less sedentary than I am. I sat around most of the day on Saturday once I got done umpiring 4-day games, by the way. But I watched this UT Texas game. And it was pretty amazing that they actually won this game while shooting 3 of 25 from behind the arc.
Had the classic makings of one of those games that we've seen them lose before.
Mm-hmm.
One of those games that you probably
not too long ago.
Yeah, not too long ago. This is a game you lose. And then somehow, some way, the universe kind of just mysteriously works in your favor. And you find yourself, as you so aptly put earlier in hour one, surviving and advancing.
That's it. Tennessee 62, Texas 58, behind 18 points and 9 rebounds from Dalton Connect. 11 from Jonas Adu, 10 from from Tobe Awaka off the bench. He saved them because they were trying to get the ball inside to Adu, and he couldn't catch it early on. But he eventually settled down. JoJo James with 9 points, 9 boards. But from outside of the paint, they couldn't buy one.
No, and I mean, how many times have we said it over the course of this year that you can kind of almost predict, and really it's not just Tennessee, it's almost every team. There's going to be a game or two that nothing is going to go your way. And specifically, kind of like we saw with Kentucky, there's going to be nights when you're not hitting your shots. And if you're not hitting your shots and you don't really have a backup plan, or you don't have a gritty enough team, to kind of just somehow carry you or will you to a win, you're toast in this one and done format. And by all accounts, any other night, UT would have been Tennessee, that is, would have been toast in this situation. But they somehow just scrap out a win. And if you're Tennessee, kind of like some folks had mentioned to me about Purdue yesterday, and they said, oh, yeah, Purdue's got to feel really good about, running up the score yesterday. I said, well, it's a lot better than losing. And people, you could flip it on Tennessee this way too. Some folks, oh, well, they barely won. They won by 4. It's a lot better than losing. And you're moving on to the next round. Now you get a couple days to catch your breath and recoup a little bit and get ready for that those next set, hopefully 2 games if you're a Tennessee fan heading into this weekend. Yeah,
you're not too worried about style points at this point. I mean, winning ugly is still winning. So, and plus 6 on the boards probably doesn't hurt UT in that gritty win, like you said. And what's the saying? Defense travels. And for everything that Tennessee has managed to do offensively this year with Dalton Connect, defense is still kind of where they hang their hat.
Yeah, and I mean, they still held Texas to 36.5%, maybe a touch high, but it wasn't as if Texas was just lighting it up. And like you said, their defense is what's carrying them. And that's kind of been their calling card the last couple of years. They just haven't had just enough scoring to win those games when they're still holding teams to comically low points. I mean, we saw Texas only put up 19 points in the first half, but if you're only scoring 20, it doesn't do you much good.
Right.
But the fact UT's got just enough of a little more punch offensively this year, I think they're in pretty good shape. And these, again, potential next 2 games could be dandies for the Vols.
You had to stay up kind of late last night to see this one, but Texas A&M did not go quietly into that good night against Houston.
Mo, I'm not going to lie to you. I have not necessarily a clue other than it went to overtime, because that was while we're at the show. But at the last check of my phone, I looked and I said, well, Houston, they got this pretty much in the bag.
Not so fast, my friend.
I went out to grab a Diet Coke and I checked my phone again real quick, and it was in overtime. And I said, holy smokes, what in the world has happened here?
Yeah. Houston was up 3 with less than 2 seconds to play, and somehow Garcia, they get the ball out to Garcia at the top of the key, and he drains a 3 to force overtime. Now Texas A&M really couldn't stay with Houston in the overtime, but they fought so hard, because like you said, Houston looked like they were pulling away late, and then A&M kind of pulled it back late. So Tennessee and Alabama carrying the SEC banner, and at least one commissioner is hoping that one of them can hang around for a while, I would think, after his comments at the onset of the tournament regarding AQs. So,
yeah, going into the after the first couple nights of the tournament, it was not looking too swift for the SEC. They have kind of evened it up a little bit, though. They're now 5-6. Which, is obviously less than what you thought. Obviously, so much their hopes were kind of pinned on Auburn making a little bit of a run, too, only to see them knocked out in round 1.
By Yale.
And by Yale.
Yale. Or as Kenny Smith said on the studio show, Yale.
I tweeted out, said, Yale, yes. I didn't want to infringe any FCC triggers there, but it was a big upset, and I think you're right going into that tournament. And isn't it funny that Alabama was a team that we really maybe had a lot of question marks about, or we weren't really sure if they'd be the team to kind of pull things together and make a run? And here they are heading into week number 2.
You always see a hot guard this time of year, and Mark Sears may be that. So
got them rolling. Real quick, while I've got this pulled up, ACC is 8-1. Big 12, 7-6. The Big East is looking sharp, folks. They are 6-0. But obviously that was in grave danger over the weekend with Oregon nearly coming back and knocking, or Creighton having to survive versus Oregon, as it were.
Yeah.
Big 10 is at 6-4, and in their final season of existence, the Pac-12 6-3 at the moment. As we mentioned a moment ago, the SEC is 5-6 after weekend number 1 of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. Wade, we mentioned it at the top of the show. The Wolverines have moved on from Juwan Howard and have landed on Dusty May. As a Wolverine fan, you got to like that.
Yeah, and this was a hire that the real question coming into this for me, and I consider myself a pretty objective fan, the real question is Michigan a big enough job to attract a big-time coach? And you're at a quote-unquote football school. Louisville's out there. Louisville was the real hot competition, I think, for Dusty May. And I think a lot of Michigan fans, they're kind of really in a state of shock. They're not really sure what – I think everybody kind of universally likes the hire. But I think really anything, kind of like with the Titans and their offseason, we're kind of in a little bit of shock right now because Michigan has had a track record of not necessarily going out and getting the big names or the splashy names or the surefire thing. And they kind of outbid Louisville by all accounts, it seems. And kind of a surprise, but kind of universally lauded this grade. I'm glancing on a blog, umhoops.com, great stuff there. And they have the national grades, and it's virtually A's across the board. Jeff Borzello from ESPN giving it a B+. But, I mean, if you're going to tell me the lowest grade is a B+, I'm excited about this. And kind of like Vanderbilt, a track record of winning. The big thing with Michigan with Dusty May coming in, and this is the world we live in, Mo, and I do love this. He's kind of put his flag in the ground and said he's a big high school guy, and he's not going to go into the portal as much, which obviously is buyer beware these days. But the real interesting thing, Michigan's roster needs a lot of work in a short amount of time, and Florida Atlantic has 3 really good guards that have 1 year of eligibility left. As a Michigan fan, it would be a real shame if those guys ended up in maize and blue next year.
Yeah, that'd be tough to take, wouldn't it?
Because if not, then yeah. And so that's the interesting thing, right? Is you could probably turn that into a decent little season next year if you could get at least 2 of those guys.
Just to kind of get your feet up under you, yeah.
And so that's the question, kind of like we've seen with Casey Alexander. Do you kind of rethink your strategy if you're Dusty May, or is it one of those, hey, we'll do what we got to do to get by the first year, and then I'll kind of go back to more recruiting the local talent and the high school level talent? So it's going to be very interesting.
That is going to be interesting to see what approach he takes, both short term and long term, like you said, to replenish that roster and, going forward, because we've had so many folks on that, like you said, in the world we live in, I mean, you can't discount, you can't ignore the transfer portal. It's there. And, you're gonna have to delve into it. I think it's a question of to what degree at this point.
Yep. And the other big thing for Michigan after all this is athletic director Ward Manuel. He had kind of come under a lot of scrutiny over the last couple of years with the handling, obviously, of the Harbaugh situation and just the whole Spygate, if you will, scandal at large. Also, the Juwan Howard, that was his guy that he went out and got. And so the fans, a little uneasy. But the fact that he made it known that he wanted to go out and get Dusty May and got Dusty May, I think that buys him a lot of credit too. And I think Michigan's going to be in pretty good shape. And again, it's just kind of refreshing because as much success as they've had, the one national title in the 80s and then a couple runs in the 90s and then in the early mid 2000s here, they're not known as a basketball blue blood by any stretch. So the fact that they're able to go out and get somebody of decent caliber, it's kind of nice to me that you're not having to kind of get rejected a couple times before you finally get the guy you really want.
All right. And
before you finally get somebody, I suppose.
And we've talked about that. You've brought that up. You've kind of made that point as we discussed the Titans in particular in going and getting free agents and going and getting their coach. I mean, to identify your guy and then go and secure your guy, there's something to be said for that, I think.
I think so. And again, same deal as the Titans. Exactly. I'm not sure how to act right now because this is kind of unfamiliar territory in the sense that, especially with basketball, Michigan has kind of struggled over the years Obviously hit a home run with Beeline, and then, but that I don't think at the time was their necessarily first choice. And then Juwan kind of was the perfect storm, fantastic fit at the time. But I think a lot of folks were going to be prepared to be disappointed. I think that's where I'm going with that, is that we were kind of prepared to be disappointed, but you get May, and it's very similar to the Titans. Again, you have this wish list of all your free agents, and then you strike out, you maybe get a middling type guy. But this year we've seen the Titans, and we'll talk more here in a couple of moments about the Titans. It's been refreshing to see them go out and identify guys they want and then get those guys.
And you made a point a second ago, Wade, as a quote football school, to be able to go out and get a basketball coach of the perceived caliber of a Dusty May, to convince him, hey, yeah, maybe we are a football school, but we love our basketball. We'll love you, come on. Because so many of those guys want to be the guy. And, maybe it's a situation where you wonder if Harbaugh had still been in place, would they have been able to go get somebody like this? Maybe a Sharon Moore makes it a little easier to hire a higher profile basketball coach.
Very, very good point right there. And yeah, I don't know if the dynamic plays out. Obviously, we'll never know, but that's a fair question. If Harbaugh were still around, could they have really put a pursuit like this? And that's kind of the interesting thing with Louisville being in the mix is, Louisville's got a pretty decent football program, but I think if you ask the common fan, they identify Louisville more as a basketball school. And so you perceive Michigan as a quote unquote football school. There's a lot, we know as well as anybody, there are a lot of personalities and egos and dynamics in play in these type situations. And it's been a real sliding doors type moment. If Harbaugh were there, maybe if they would have landed May, or if they would have had to go down the list further and try and get somebody else.
Right. You mentioned Louisville. Again, we spoke to Louisville Courier-Journal's columnist C.L. Brown on Friday, and as he talked about their situation, one of the names that came up was Franklin Road Academy graduate Will Wade. Maybe you just go out and win some games, was the quote, I believe, from CL. And he has certainly done that at McNeese, and he's basically done it everywhere he's been. Now, the devil's in the details or not. Maybe if you don't care how you go win some games and you just go win some games. And, as Yao has said previously, maybe some of the things that Will Wade was doing that got him in trouble are no longer troublesome.
Yeah. And, and that's the thing, right? Certain schools, they kind of embrace the, win at all costs. We'll put up with a little potential scandal here, a scandal there. Louisville, certainly prone. I'm not a bitter Michigan basketball fan at all. I was in the building when Louisville beat them that night for the title.
You are definitely speaking black and red language right there.
Kentucky's been known, the state of Kentucky, that is, they've been known to, turn a blind eye to certain things over the years. So I tell you this, it wouldn't be a bad hire, I don't think, outside, just from coaching and recruiting and potentially turning your program around and getting them back on their feet. If I'm an AD, I'm not necessarily saying no at that point.
Yeah, and you feel like this guy's coaching in Lake Charles, Louisiana. You feel like if that's your guy, you can go get him. So that'll bear watching, especially now that Dusty May is out of the mix, obviously. Also, being connected with that job, Mick Cronin, Scott Drew, and Indiana State's Josh Schertz. And after what happened to the Sycamores on Selection Sunday, he might be ready to raise up.
Yeah, I feel like we've seen that. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I feel like we've seen that scenario too, right? Where you want to go to the dance and you're sitting there holding.
And you feel like you've done everything that you can do to go to the dance, and you still don't get to go.
And imagine that, right?
But clearly, it's where I'm at.
And then you're the coach at Indiana State, and you're seeing Virginia getting in, and you're like, well, I could go to Louisville and do that.
Right.
I could mimic that if all I got to do is what they did to get in the tournament. Yeah.
Right.
I'm having to beat the brakes off of the program and drum up support, and I'm having to go to picnic lunches and do everything possible just to get
I've got
fans to Indiana State.
I've got zero room for error.
Yeah, 100%. Zero margin for error. Whereas you go to a school like Louisville, all right, if I can sneak in the tournament, and we've seen some coaches pursue that route. We've seen some coaches say, you know what, I like what I've got and I want to stay. I'm committed to the school where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
So that will certainly be a name to watch. And South Florida's Amir Abdur-Rahim also kind of getting some buzz, and it'll be interesting to see because Louisville, especially with all the, how that goes, kind of like Michigan, Ohio State, when Kentucky's kind of, wobbling a little bit, Louisville, they have a chance, they feel like, to maybe recapture the momentum in that state at this point.
And I would imagine from a Louisville standpoint, again, as connected as Dusty May was to that vacancy, to see him not come, Louisville can't be involved with too many more people and not get a guy, right? Just from an optics standpoint, you've got to be able to kind of save face with this search at this point and get somebody who you can pass off as, okay, so he wasn't our first choice, but he was definitely our second.
100%. And that's the interesting thing reading into the Michigan side of things is I think everybody's still kind of semi-shocked because you're telling me you get Louisville, a program obviously that we've seen do some great things, but it's kind of downtrodden in the last several years, but it's kind of that sleeping giant, right? And the fact that you're able to win that bidding war, as it were, or whatever, turned the tables there. You are 100% right when you say that Louisville, they cannot afford to swing and miss on too many more guys at this point in terms of public perception.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia. When we come back, we will be joined by friend of the show, NUBYJAS WILBORN of AllTitans.com. Stay with us. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Welcome to Protein Snack Shop, your destination for healthy and delicious low-carb snacks. Our specialty lies in providing protein-packed desserts that are perfect for those following a keto diet. Our products are made with high-quality ingredients, ensuring that you can satisfy your cravings without compromising your health goals. From a variety of flavors and options to choose from, you can enjoy guilt-free snacking while staying on track with your fitness journey. Don't miss out on our limited time offer. Discover Protein Snack Shop today.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
The Monday Mirror continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton, and we are now joined by NUBYJAS WILBORN of AllTitans.com. NUBYJAS, good afternoon.
Man, what's going on, gentlemen? How y'all doing today?
We're doing great, man. How are you?
Very well.
Good, man. Just another day out here trying to figure it out, brothers. You know how it goes.
I hear you. Hey, you and I talked a little bit Friday night, and we are concerned as to how much of a NCAA basketball fan Rand Carthon is.
Well, I guess apparently he didn't have time for all that. He's trying to build a winning football franchise, you know. Dropping stories at what was it, 11 o'clock, 11:30?
10:30, 11 o'clock. Yeah. It was
he's making it happen, man. I mean, but hey, look, that was a good move getting L'Jarius Sneed. To me, it's the type of move. And from talking to people around the league that I'm learning, I'm still getting into this, is type of move that says, hey, man, we might have something here. Now, if it's true, we'll see, but it's the type of move that suggests Titans think they could be a competitive football team coming up. They still have holes to fill, but you don't make a move like that and spend the money that they're probably going to spend on him unless you think you got something pretty good going on.
Well, and they still have holes to fill, but they filled a big one.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, now you're talking about a secondary with Sneed, Owuzie, and my man Roger McCreary from Auburn. You put him in the slot. You're talking about three legitimate corners there. Now, obviously, you know, you still need some depth and everything with these teams going these 4 or 5 wide receiver sets, as we know. But those three there, you're looking at a pretty solid group, assuming Owuzie stays healthy, assuming McCreary continues to make that leap and Sneed continues to play like he does.
And you know, I didn't realize it, I guess, until I was reading after this trade on Friday night. The Titans had 6 picks by their defensive secondary last year, maybe 6 picks total.
I mean, they were like one of the worst in the league when it came to interceptions last year. I think they were at either the last or like one of the last teams. And keep in mind, they went into that final game against Jacksonville with 4 interceptions. They had 2 in that one game.
Man, so this is better then, right?
You would hope so. I mean, because here's the thing, right? The way these teams are throwing the ball, I mean, you got to pick up some. I mean, there's so many more opportunities for interceptions, you would think, right? With the way these offenses go, with how much they throw the ball, you would assume that for whatever reason, Titans really struggled in that area. Now, of course, it's the other way. We'll find out, hey, is it the defensive line? Is it the secondary, right? Is it the linebackers? Like, who makes who better? But obviously, with the defensive coordinator being the secondary guy, it is clear that the Titans are focused on the secondary heavily.
And absolutely. And just real quick, guys, you mentioned that stat. Bears and 49ers led the league with 22 interceptions. Titans last in the league with 6.
Last in the league. And it was funny to see Jeff Simmons' tweet soon thereafter.
Well,
yes,
I mean, but that's the thing, right? I mean, it makes his life easier if you know those corners and safeties can cover a little bit longer. It makes it easier for him to get to the quarterback. I mean, the reality of it is to have a defense in today's era where they just made the new hip drop tackle rule or whatever, outlawing that. Okay, so I guess there's one less way you can tackle. It's harder to play defense than ever. And you need some corners who can cover. If you're going to have any chance of those defensive linemen getting to the quarterback is what is reflected with Simmons. And I think that's the way, typically, as we know, football has traditionally been one of the trenches for over 100 years. But I also think we have to realize that the game is evolving. Now, whether we agree with the way it's evolving and the direction in which it's going in, whole other conversation. But the game is moving onward.
Right. So, still holes. Where are they? What's the next one that gets filled, do you think?
Ooh, next one get filled. That's a tough one because, looking at the free agent line, who's left, but they still need some help on the offensive line. You still don't really have your tackle situation set up like you want. You probably need another inside linebacker because you did lose Aziz, who is your best tackler. Now, they did get the guy, Kenneth Murray. I like him a lot, but I still did need some help there. They probably need another safety. And they probably need another edge rusher or two.
It looks more and more, though, with everything else that has taken place over this offseason, that Joe Alt is going to be the guy at 7. Is that?
Everybody seems to be pointing that way, but you know how it goes, man. This is called, I guess in college football, they call it talking season. And so I guess it's called lion season. So, it's a whole bunch of lies and stories out there. But from what everybody's saying, it seems to be pretty consistent that it'll be all, or maybe the big kid from Penn State, who everybody seems to like, Fashanu, or maybe the Latham kid from Alabama. There's about like 6 guys who are kind of in that mix who could be first rounders, but also don't be surprised if the Titans trade back in the draft.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say, Tobias, with everything kind of pointing that it looks like it's almost got to be a tackle at some point. Is that not how we've seen over the years? Just when you think you have it exactly figured out, something crazy happens and either they trade back or something gets thrown in their lap that they weren't expecting and you got to take. It just seems like it's almost a little too obvious right now.
Well, that's the beauty of it, right? Like you said, anytime you think you don't know, because also we don't know what's on those teams' draft boards, okay? We know what Mel Kiper and all the people, and that's not knocking Kiper or anybody else who's saying they don't know or they're not informed. That's not saying that. But what I am saying is we don't know what's on Rand Carthon's board or what's on all the other general managers. We just know what is out there as far as who we think the best players are. We don't know what they think. And I think we always have to factor that in.
With alltitans.com, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by TOA of Columbia. I've asked you this before. The Titans seem to be awfully active. Do you feel like they've closed any ground between themselves and the rest of the AFC South? Again, we've talked about Houston taking advantage of their apparent window. Just in terms of rosters at this point, are they ahead of Indianapolis?
I don't know, man. And I say that because here's what it really boils down to, gentlemen. You know the answer here. The real question with the Titans now is Will Levis that guy or is he not? Okay. That's what this all is going to boil down to. I think, to me, the biggest narrative into this season, which no secret because the quarterback is right or wrong, the most important position in sports, definitely on the football team. If Will Levis is that guy, now again, I don't think he's CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud, man, that guy did some special stuff as a rookie last year. Okay. Levis showed flashes, but he also showed some inconsistency. Look, maybe sometimes he's a little too tough. That dude don't like to slide at all, man. It would be nice to see that brother get down every now and then, but he's got the talent, and now they're putting things around him. A lot of what this year will be about is evaluating. And here's the thing. Look at what happened with Justin Fields. Now, if you look at it, what teams are trying to do right now in the NFL, they're trying to win while the quarterback is under that rookie contract, okay? If you look at how it's gone, teams are trying to build because once you have to pay that quarterback, it's a lot harder to pay everybody else, right? So you want to try to win. So basically, these quarterbacks aren't getting 3-4 years of kind of sitting around and kind of see how they develop. Nah, we drafted you. You need to be playing today. You need to be good now. Last year, it is fair to say that we don't know what Will Levis is yet. I mean, that they had the worst rated offensive line in the league based upon several different metrics. All right. Other than DeAndre Hopkins, they didn't have a whole lot of receiver. And look, King got his yards, but that wasn't exactly what you want. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I do think Tajay Spears shows a little something. But now if you look at Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears as running backs, you look at Calvin Ridley paired with DeAndre Hopkins, maybe Traylon Burke gets it together, maybe Chig at tight end gets it together. You're now talking about a pretty good offense with the upgrade at center, getting Lloyd Cushenberry. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Now you still need tackles, you still need some things, but there is a chance the Titans are going to be a much better offense than they were last season. And if they are, and if Will Levis is good, then sure. But if Anthony Richardson comes back and he balls out and Levis takes a step back, I don't know. I mean,
and we've seen quarterbacks take steps back. Looking at you, Trevor Lawrence.
Well, I mean, or looking at the Titans. I think there was recently mentioned where the Titans since 2020 have drafted or tied with the Giants and the Patriots for drafting the most quarterbacks in that time frame. And how many of those guys have actually done anything? Just saying. Right. I mean, that's why you're in a situation where you're at now. Now, hey, look, if Levis is that dude, and we're going to find out. I mean, that's why I'm saying, like, I don't want to cast any dispersion one way or the other because we're going to find out. But now you can't say he didn't have any weapons around him because he does. Now, again, it also depends on anybody stays healthy. It also depends on how this new strength group comes in. We'll see what that does. Apparently, there was a lot of issues with the Titans having injuries over the last few years. We'll see if that's correctable. But, yeah, I think to me this season, more than anything, will come down to if Will Levis is ready to be a legitimate, viable, let's say, top 15 or better quarterback in the NFL.
And with that being said, Tobias, now I'm curious is it seems like so much of this offseason, really the last few weeks of last year, seemed like the Titans, we've got our guy. And it seems like now, is this almost in your mind a 1-year audition, or if the Titans kind of almost box themselves in a little bit of a corner here where if things do not go great with an improved offensive line, with an improved receiving core on paper at least, do you really turn that quickly and reevaluate? Is it almost a 1-season audition in your mind, or are you thinking they're committed to a longer process?
And to me, I would say it's more leaning towards the audition situation. Because if it ain't, I mean, based upon this isn't about Levis, it's about where the league is trending. Because what I mentioned, I mentioned Justin Fields, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned, look at his whole quarterback class. All those guys are on other teams, except for ironic, I think Brock Purdy, right? You know, who was the last
Mr. Irrelevant,
right? You know what I'm saying? Well, he ain't Mr. Relevant now.
No, he's quite relevant. Yeah.
He's quite relevant, and the other guys ain't, right? But that's how quick it is now. Because if you cannot get it together while that quarterback is under that rookie contract, like that's how Kansas City was able to build. But also, speaking of Kansas City, that's why they had to let go of a guy like L'Jarius Sneed. You know what I'm saying? Because eventually you can't be everybody. They had to let go of Tyreek Hill. You know what I'm saying? And won 2 Super Bowls without him. So suffice to say, to build something. Now, of course, don't get me wrong. You got that man, Patrick Mahomes. But when they started, it was under Mahomes' rookie deal. All right. So really, today's time, with the way it's going, you have to look at it as a 1-year audition because either Will Levis is good and he's a legitimate, viable quarterback, or he's not. And if he's not, you got to cut bait and start over, which sucks. It used to be, that's going to be a 5-year process. But that's not how the league is working anymore.
Yeah.
It happens quick.
Wow. NUBYJAS WILBORN joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Other than the Titans, who else has gotten your attention to this point in free agency?
Well, ironically, the Houston Texans. They went and signed the 2 best tacklers and defenders for the Titans, and they just have really continued to bolster their team that seems to be pretty good. It's going to have a really strong defense. They definitely have stepped it up. you look across the landscape. I mean, I think the Raiders have made some good moves. I like what they're doing with Antonio Pierce's coach. I like the attitude they seem to have. We'll see what happens with the Steelers getting Russell Wilson. Does he still have game? I mean, there's a lot going on, but I would honestly say I think the Titans have had one of the better off seasons so far. That's a credit to Rand Carthon. And if you go back and look at Rand, speaking of that, think about it. Last year's draft, your first 3 players in that draft, all those guys play. Started with Peter Skronsky, even though I think some people think he should be a tackle. He's a starting offensive lineman in the NFL. You drafted in the first round, your first number 1 pick. Will Levis is a solid player, and then Tajay Spears. I mean, and that's him coming into the job with less than 2 or 3 months before the draft. And look at what he's done now. Other than the Andre Dillard signing, what bad moves can we really point to on Rand so far?
Yeah, and I guess that's an interesting point that kind of jumped in my brain too. Is we've seen the Titans be so aggressive, and so we've seen the offense. We talked about the audition for Will Levis. Is it almost as if the front office has finally been turned over to Rand Carthon? And they said, "Look, we don't care what you do. We just want to see what you're going to do, and we don't care what moves you make. Let's see what your style of general managership looks like, and then we'll reevaluate after that." Because it seems like he's just got the keys to the castle right now and running wild in a good way for Titans.
Well, you think about it. You got a whole new coaching staff, whole new strength performance staff, and out of the 9 players you signed in free agency, 6 of them are probably going to start. I mean, yeah, it's going to be a totally different team. And now there's still some free agent decisions for the Titans to make. But overall, it's going to be a whole revamped, overhaul roster. And it will have Rand Carthon's fingerprints all over it.
Mm-hmm.
Or as he says, the fit, right? You know, with what he wants out of players. And I mean, look, will it work? I don't know. But I think a lot of the critiques that Rand has gotten in the market have been unfair from what I can see. I think he got a lot of blame for the previous general manager, John Robinson. But if you look at specifically at what Rand has done so far, what can you really quibble with? And the one major glaring mistake he made, he cut the guy.
Yeah, it seems like the ownership is saying, "Hey, you know what? To me, it seems like this is the ultimate endorsement. We say you're the guy, and how many times do we see ownership kind of meddle in and, well, we say you're the guy, but we're gonna, handcuff you a little bit on some moves." Seems like the Titans have said, "You know what? You're the guy, and we're gonna let you make your own moves, and we'll just reevaluate those moves down the road. But it's your car to drive off the lot, as it were."
I mean, look, so far, they spent $92 million on Ridley, which, I mean, paying him like a top 10 receiver when his production was more like in the 25, I don't know. He says he feels he's 25 on paper rather than 29. But, when I was 29, I felt I was 25 until I realized that I wasn't. So, we always think that we're younger than we really are. But now, because he says he obviously missed the 2 years of football, I do think he learned a lot from the gambling suspension as well as whatever mental health issues he had the previous year. And so maybe he's more mature, but that is a lot of money to give a receiver that's going to be 30 sooner than later. But the Titans trusted him. I mean, but hey, Miss Amy, as they call her, trusted him to make the call, and we'll see if it's right.
Mm-hmm.
NUBYJAS WILBORN, alltitans.com, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. NUBYJAS, as always, we appreciate it and look forward to having you on again soon. Hopefully Rand won't interrupt another one of our Friday nights here over the next couple of weeks as we are watching this tournament. But if we do, we'll probably be reaching out to you.
Hey, man, anytime, man. Thank y'all for having me, man, and good luck to everybody, man.
That'll work. When we come back here on Main Street Sports Today to the Lee Company studios of our respective homes, going to talk a little college football, 2026 college football. So stay with us when we come back from this break. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com. I'm Maurice Patton, and on Main Street Sports Today, we bring you the voices of your favorite teams from preps to pros. Otherwise known as the VOT, Mike Keith.
The bottom line is we can teach Will Levis woke.
I just don't know who's going to work with you on your base stealing now that EY's gone.
Well, that has nowhere to go but up. And I was just like, oh, guys, not again. Can we just bury that, burn that footage, and not bring it back?
No. No.
Thank you. We'll keep it going past the All-Star break, and looking forward to seeing how the rest of the season plays out. There's always a good story to tell.
Can you guess where I am today, Mo? Where am I?
It's not Reese Smith Field, is it?
Yeah.
Because anytime you play Chicago, you want to win. That's just
you got that right, and
that's bottom
a
line.
buzz.
When you're walking the dog, you keep the bags that you need for the dog in the bag, and you don't even have to wear it. You can just hold it, which is what I do when I walk the dog. So
I think the fanny pack probably needed a little rebranding.
It did. It really did.
On your show logo, we've got to get a puck in there. There's a basketball. There's a football. There's a baseball. Maybe it's not a puck. How about Mo brandishes a hockey stick?
Tune in daily at 2 p.m. on Main Street Media TV.
Welcome to Protein Snack Shop, your destination for healthy and delicious low-carb snacks. Our specialty lies in providing protein-packed desserts that are perfect for those following a keto diet. Our products are made with high-quality ingredients, ensuring that you can satisfy your cravings without compromising your health goals. From a variety of flavors and options to choose from, you can enjoy guilt-free snacking while staying on track with your fitness journey. Don't miss out on our limited time offer. Discover Protein Snack Shop today.
Final segment of the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. Wade?
Hey, I just got reminded of something, Mo, during our last break right there. We had our buddy Pete Pranica, the play-by-play voice of the Memphis Grizzlies, on a couple weeks ago. And there was a cool picture on social media. Pete's been doing that a long time, but he was courtside. The Grizzlies were on ESPN last Wednesday, I think it was, versus the Warriors. And he's sitting next to Mike Breen, the ESPN announcer. And Pete's signature call for a three-pointer is bango. And Mike Breen's signature call is bang.
Bang.
And there they are. They're both decked out. They got their suits on, and they're just sitting courtside, kind of just posing, just watching it all take in. And the Grizzlies shouted them out, and they said, bango meets bang. And I just thought it was a cool pick. And we had our guy Pete on a couple weeks ago, so just wanted to pass that along because it was sweet. Even though the Grizzlies have not had a lot of sweet moments, it was pretty cool to see that last week.
That is nice. I mean, Mike Breen is one of the greats as far as the NBA. And so, yeah, that's good stuff. Glad you mentioned that.
And friend of the show. So,
exactly.
We got to puff our own chest out a little bit there.
Yeah. Coach Phillips isn't feeling too good right now. Coming down on a minute to play in the first half, NC State 44, Tennessee 31. So, yeah. Not good. Going to take some work in the second half for the Lady Vols decked out in their summit blue today to take that next step into the Sweet 16. But we'll, 20 more minutes.
It tripped me out for a second because I glanced up and the score bug, it says Tennessee and it's in blue. I thought it was an MTSU rerun for a second. I wanted to make sure I was on the right channel there.
You are on the right channel. Mentioned a little college football recruiting over the weekend. Nashville Christian quarterback Jared Curtis, who is ranked, according to 24/7 Sports, the number 9 recruit in the 2026 class, the number 1 quarterback, has committed to the University of Georgia. First commit in Georgia's class picked Georgia over, according to The Athletic, a long list that includes Alabama, Tennessee, Oklahoma, and Texas. Guess he was staying in the Southeastern Conference regardless. But again, he is Georgia's first commitment for 2026. They have closed up their 2024 recruitment and have a couple of 5-stars among their 6 commitments for 2025. Now, 2026, that's 3 years away, right? Or 2 years away. He's a sophomore this year. But Georgia is also still recruiting USC 5-star commitment Juju Lewis, who's from Carrollton, Georgia, in their 2025 class.
Well, I mean, why stop at one, elite player if you can't just go out and get them all, right?
Hey, if one is good, 2 is better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's interesting. They also mentioned Gunnar Stockton, another former Georgia prep standout at quarterback, in this article, and I was thinking about this. I guess it was in the 2020 season when we had all the COVID stuff going on that Columbia Academy picked up a game against Stockton's team, went down and played them, and lost pretty significantly. CA defeated Nashville Christian at NCS back last fall. So so the Bulldogs are 1-1 against Bulldog quarterbacks as of right now. So yeah, this is going to be interesting. And again, this is a 2026 commitment. You know, what is the likelihood? Yeah,
that it actually ends up
that he actually ends up in Athens.
Yeah, would not be shocked by anything. And I haven't had a chance to watch Jared play, but I do know that Giles County scrimmaged them last summer, and Coach David O'Connor, who's the Giles County football coach, he's been around the game a long time. He's coached some NFL players over his years, and he said, "Hey, I know this is short notice, but if you can come up to our scrimmage tonight, we're playing Nashville Christian. You got to see this quarterback." And I didn't get to go, but by all accounts, I texted a couple players the next day, and they said, "Oh yeah, he's the real deal."
He is the real deal. He's about 6'4", about 215, 220. I mean, he looks the part. He can sling it, and he can make you pay in the run game as well, both, in the open field and up close and personal. So he is, as former Vanderbilt coach Bobby Johnson would say, he's ready-made.
Seems like it. And the fact, that O'Connor was telling me as much as he was about him, considering how young he is, that kind of told me the rest of the tale too. And it's kind of a good time to be a Tennessee high school. We obviously have some great players year in, year out, but with him, and then obviously with George McIntyre at Brentwood Academy, quarterback play, especially in Middle Tennessee, seems like it is at a very high level, and it's in a very good place right now.
And I will tell you, having covered high school football in this area for a pretty good while, that's kind of been the Achilles heel, so to speak, in terms of development, production, recruiting, that kind of thing. You've not seen a whole lot of high-level quarterbacks come out of this area. I mean, we joked a couple of months ago about Jawan Jennings being the highest-rated quarterback in the NFL championship games, and you see what he wound up doing. But I mean, quarterback has not been a position, particularly in Middle Tennessee. I mean, you've seen a few more maybe out of East and West, but not so much in Middle Tennessee. But again, like you mentioned, George McIntyre and now Jared Curtis getting SEC sniffs, and that it's going to be interesting to keep an eye on with those guys and a few others as well, I'm sure. So
here's a question I have for you, Mo. You mentioned you've been covering these teams and been covering Middle Tennessee in particular for a long time. In your own estimation, when you show up to a game on a Friday, a kid of that caliber, do you in your mind automatically say, all right, obviously he's got the whoa factor? Are you thinking, okay, this is SEC level whoa? Are you able to discern? Because I'm real curious. Giles County had Bo Wallace, who ended up at Ole Miss, but he had to take a long road to get there.
Right.
And everybody was, we're little rose-colored glasses here. And I'm just curious, when you see a kid like that, does he have an extra level in addition to those already kind of elite recruits that you've seen over the years?
It's kind of tough, Wade. That's a heck of a question. But the thing is, so much of it kind of depends to some degree on who's around them. So, I mean, those guys do a better job of evaluating and that kind of thing. But, the production isn't necessarily there. But, I mean, the physical specimen of, say, a George McIntyre or a Jared Curtis it does kind of jump out at you a little bit. But again, once they start doing it on the field, you can see the arm talent, as folks like to say, that kind of thing. But whether that's a Power 5 or whether that's a next level down, that kind of thing, for me, it's kind of hard to tell. Now, I'm sure that there are people that will tell you, oh yeah, I knew all along. No, you didn't.
Yeah, it's just fascinating to me because we see so many stories like a Brock Purdy, just as a recent example. You think you have the guy figured out, or Tom Brady even, not super highly recruited or not super highly thought of as a draft prospect. And I'm just curious, is it a product of being in the right place at the right time? Or what kind of sets these kids off at the high school level from getting recruited to these ultra high levels compared to kind of a Power 5 type level or a mid-major type level?
The thing about it too, Wade, is, you talk about Bo Wallace, you don't know what a kid is going to do from high school to that next level. What work are they going to put in, on their craft, on their body, that kind of thing, to get themselves to an Ole Miss from an Arkansas State and from an East Mississippi. So, but it's certainly something that bears watching, especially with all the talent that we have in this area right now.
And I think if nothing else, real quick, is that if nothing else, it's good for the rest of the state of Tennessee, because anytime you got these hot shot recruits, it just brings in more eyeballs and more attention, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing that a lot of these kids have to realize. If they're coming to see Jared Curtis, they're going to see me too, right? So, yeah, absolutely. Braves fans are going to see Jesse Chavez tomorrow in spring training and going forward. Released by the White Sox on Friday, he's already said this is his final season, and this is his 5th go-around with the Braves. So,
holy moly.
Yeah. He apparently he is the there's a article, can Immaculate Grid legend Jesse Chavez name all of his teams in order? I don't know how many he's been on, but it's a good half, I would say. He's played for a lot of folks, but he's going to be a key part of the Braves bullpen, and we're looking forward to it. 16 years, 9 teams. Okay, some in multiple stints. So looking forward to that.
One season, 2016 to 17, he played for the Dodgers, then played for the Angels. Didn't even really have to move that far.
Yeah, just going across town. You got to like that. I think he was with the Braves twice 2 years ago.
We see that obviously in baseball a lot, especially those relief pitchers, man. They are a very important commodity, but they can be flipped around in a hurry.
Yeah. When you're good, they will find you. So that's going to do it for this Monday here on Main Street Sports Today. Tune back in tomorrow where we will visit with Stewart and Boyd Walters, and we'll see what else we come up with between now and then. But again, 2 o'clock tomorrow, right here, Main Street Sports Today, brought to you by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, coming to you from the Lee Company Studios. We will see you guys 2 bells tomorrow.